Secondo ti deve essere piacere.
Sì, è qua. Rimarrà qua sempre.
Perfetto.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to warmly welcome the participants of the 28th edition of the MBA in International Business Program. Dear MBA 28, distinguished guests, MIB faculty and staff, and extended MIB community, including those who are following our ceremony on live streaming. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the graduation ceremony of the 28th edition of the MBA in International Business Program. Today is a day of celebration and recognition that has come through hard work, perseverance, and dedication. Dear participants, I believe that today is an occasion that you will never forget. It is an important day also for your families and friends, as this achievement would have not been possible without their support and their encouragement. Ho il piacere di porgere un caloroso benvenuto anche in italiano alle famiglie e amici dei nostri diplomati che li hanno sostenuti e incoraggiati durante quest'anno e che oggi sono qui per festeggiare assieme a loro questo importante traguardo. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce our Dean, Professor Vladimir Nanut, who will now give his speech.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, faculty, colleagues, families, friends, and of course, members of the graduating class. It's also my great pleasure to welcome you all to this ceremony. I would like to give my warmest welcome to Stefano Venier, CEO of Hera Group, and I would like to express him the gratitude of the entire MIB community for accepting to honor us with his presence and speech during this graduation. Mr. Venier, other than being the top manager of one of the leading Italian multi-utilities operators, he is a member of our board. The speech that Mr. Venier will deliver today will represent a remarkable evidence of competence and experience, and will be the great interest and inspiration focusing on some key factors on today's business management, such as corporate strategy, sustainability, and social environmental responsibility. I'm sure that it will be an additional learning opportunity for our MBA graduates, and an aspiring stimulus for the new professional journey that they will start tomorrow. We gather today to celebrate a moment of value in the life of our MBA candidates. But the celebration of a graduation day is indeed always an exciting moment of transition for students, families, as well for our school. This graduation day comes at a very special time for MIB Trieste School of Management. As you know, this year the school celebrates the 3rd anniversary from its foundation. This birthday is a milestone for your program too. The MBA in International Business has been the first program developed by MIB, and despite the today's wide portfolio of training projects, your MBA remains the flagship program of the school that bears its name. Considering the today initiative and projects, we can say that MIB is continuing to improve its international reputation and to increase its educational offer. As you know, the school boasts the full accreditation by the Association of MBAs, both for the MBA in International Business, your program, and for our executive MBA. I mean EMBA and also EMIF. AMBA is the most important international accreditation body for MBAs. Only 2% of the business school worldwide can boast this prestigious accreditation. We strongly believe that the only way to advance and grow is to ensure always the highest quality standards to our students. The national and the international accreditation we have earned, ASFOR, AMBA, IPAS, are the most valuable acknowledgement of our efforts. Going through our training program, in addition to offering MBAs and master's degree to the talent graduates from all over the world, the school is becoming a reference point for managers and executives looking for customized and flexible managerial training with standard of excellence. Leading many successful projects as short programs for corporate. For major companies, MIB is reinforcing its position in corporate and executive education. In the last year, the school trained more than 1,000 executives, providing 9,000 of training man days. MIB is becoming a prominent management school, both for leading Italian companies and multinational enterprises operating on the global market. Confirming the international position and the quality recognition, innovating the training offer and strengthening the links with the corporate world, these are some of the goals that MIB has set itself to grow and to offer valuable benefits both to students and businesses. Dear graduates, first of all, congratulations on completing the long and challenging pathway that has led to this graduation. I want to congratulate, as also your program manager said, to your parents, families, and friends who supported, sustained, and strengthened you. But I would like to thank also the faculty members who have taught and mentored you, and thank to the member of the MIB team who have worked so hard to make your time among us comfortable and fruitful. But as all the moment of transition, this ceremony is an occasion both to think through the past, but even more to consider the future that lies before you. I'm convinced that your future will be bright, as you are now equipped with one of the great degrees in education, the Master in Business Administration of MIB School of Management. As our graduates, you are now called to become the leaders capable to drive, influence, stimulate, implement the activities. Finally, to make the difference to people and organizations you will work with. And as future leaders, you will have to find the right balance between personal ambitions and social responsibility, using core ethical values as the base for your thinking and leading. In the school vision, a good leadership refers not only to competence and skills, but also to ethics. Having this in mind, during the third anniversary celebration this year, we have embraced the Latin motto Recta Tueri as school slogan. This motto is carved in the marble under the state of Emperor Ferdinand of Habsburg in the facade of this palace, and remind us the need to always preserve the values of the most rigorous rectitude. MIB Trieste School of Management believes and supports the growth of the new management class that cultivates and defends the common good, knows the value of sacrifice, and enhances the principle of meritocracy, perseverance, and commitment. I invite you to give the evidence of being that kind of leaders through a behavior inspired by values of personal integrity and social accountability. Respect your followers, be fair, loyal, and honest. Work hard for the community goals. Moreover, we believe that a cross-cultural environment like the one you have enjoyed at our school is the best ground to develop a leader capable to interconnect the world and create prosperity beyond the frontiers. Dear graduates, from today on, as our ambassadors in the world, you have to uphold the name and the prestige of MIB School of Management. Be proud of the degree you have deserved here. We will follow your professional progress closely, and we will be always by your side. Moreover, we need you. Your advice and your support will help us to expand our activities, to develop new products, and bring the members of our network closer together. In any case, we will always be happy to welcome you in the Ferdinandeo Palace, the common home of the alumni of MIB School of Management. My very best wishes to all of you, and ad maiora. Thank you.
Now, I invite Professor Andrea Tracogna, the Academic Director of the MBA in International Business Program, to take the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, company representatives, Mr. Venier, MBA graduates, in my role of academic director of this MBA, it's my duty and, of course, my pleasure to say some words of celebration for the positive conclusion of this 28th edition of the MBA in International Business. Today, we can proudly say that a mission has been accomplished. It took 12 months of efforts to get here today, for you, students, and for the school. The MBA graduates who are sitting in front of me have passed a number of demanding exams, have carried out several challenging activities, and have discussed in the last few days their final thesis. The numbers speak for themselves. Starting from the last September 2017, 1 month ago, the MBA students took more than 700 classroom hours spread over 120 days. They took 20 different courses, compulsory and elective, 50 exams and formal examinations, and then also dozens of individual group sessions of feedback, orientation. You carried out 2 on-the-field project works, and we shall not forget also the many corporate visits, business presentations, and meetings with managers and entrepreneurs. And during the last summer, you have worked hard on the thesis preparation, which you have discussed very competently. Furthermore, some of you have been involved in job internships and working positions in different countries, different cities, and roles. Others have participated to exchange programs abroad, in China, in the US, in France, in Spain. Overall, the total combined workload of this MBA exceeds 1,700 hours, an increase of more than 10% from the previous editions. Of course, this MBA has not just been something related to studying and taking exams. Over the last 12 months, you made lots of acquaintances. You met many interesting people. Your colleagues, of course, the instructors, the school staff, and the business people. And thus, you have developed a broad and rich network of relations. It wasn't easy for you to manage such an intense agenda and to keep high your motivation, your commitment, and dedication to the MBA. We can say that you made miracles in combining study and work, finding a balance, to saving also your personal life, especially those of you who have been living so far from the home countries. If the investment of time, energy, commitment is and has been impressive, so have the outcomes, which we have measured at the academic and at the leadership level. And on behalf of the school, I would like to express my congratulations to all of you for these achievements. But the quality of the outcomes is always a function of the quality of the inputs. You are the inputs of this MBA. We have the privilege to work with a group of talented individuals coming from all the regions of the world. And we must congratulate ourselves for having been able to recruit you, to recruit and select such an outstanding group of people, picked one by one from a huge pool of candidates. Diversity has been the primary ingredient of the MBA. Your different background at the academic level, your different professional experiences, your different national cultures have offered us unique opportunities to promote enrichment, which has represented the key success factor of this MBA. Along the journey, we have leveraged in all the occasions on such diversity. And this has been fundamental to turn 30 individuals into a strong and integrated group of friends. Over the months, we have seen this day by day, you have got to know each other more and more. You have become true friends, enjoying several amazing moments in MIB's life. A few words on the qualification you are receiving today, the MBA degree, which is becoming, by the way, an intrinsic part of your personal and professional brand, if I can say so. Well, indeed, MBA degrees have become an established standard, as you know, and a winning format in postgraduate management education today. Further, MBAs, as ours, with the most important accreditations, are globally recognized by the most important corporations all over the world. But while holding such features, this MBA in international business has other unique traits which make it unique and are worth recalling today. Specifically, these elements, they lay in three features of this MBA. First, the emphasis we give to the development of your international management capabilities. Second, our cross-functional, interdisciplinary approach to business, which integrates hard and soft skills. And also a strong leverage that this school is given to the key areas of expertise we have developed over the last years: risk management, entrepreneurship, innovation. Furthermore, this MBA favors a strong connection between knowledge acquisition and knowledge application, or if you want to call it, in other words, learning and doing. So for the above reasons, we believe that this degree will help you a lot to open many doors in the world of business and significantly speed up your career. At the conclusion of this long program, at the graduation ceremony, it is just the right time now to give thanks to the people who have contributed to this success. As was mentioned by Professor Nanut, of course, we have first and foremost to mention those who supported you from the outside of the school, but from your inside, of course, those that are with you in person and in spirit in this ceremony. I mean, your loving family members and your dear friends. But other people within the school have worked hard to contribute to this achievement. I start this list with Vicky Pletz, your program manager. She has been the bridge between the students and the instructors, taking care day by day of all the teaching and organizational issues. I also thank Tim Baxter, the co-director of this MBA, who has helped you become a strong team, showing you the way to exploit your leadership potential and express in full your talents. Also, I thank Fabia Radetti, who has worked hard to help you define your career orientation, facilitating your encounters with the corporate world and arranging job interviews and corporate meetings. Of course, I thank also Barbara Sepic, the admission officer, for having managed so well the selection process of such an outstanding pool of participants. And many thanks also to Stefano Pilotto for his dedication to the MBA and to the students' social life. Many thanks also to the entire school staff and the academic faculty for having enthusiastically contributed to the many activities. And last but not least, I thank the several guest speakers, managers, professionals, and their companies who have complemented the academic activities with the flavor of the business practice. Graduations like this today have always been special events, as Professor Nanut recalled, in our school's life. moments that are always full of emotions, expectations, and relief. This graduation, of course, is not an exception. It signs, and you should know this very well, a transition moment from study to work. So many opportunities are opening to you, and hard decisions have been or will be soon made. It is now very hard, anyway, to imagine which country, which company, which role you'll be in a few years from now. What we know for sure at MIB is that you are our winning horses, can I say so? And that we can safely bet on your talents and on your future success. Because we know who you are, because we have carefully assessed you over 12 months. In the years to come, as has been already expressed very well, we will be your best supporters, knowing that your success is also ours. And we know and we hope there will soon be new opportunities to meet you, either at the school or at the many events arranged by the Alumni Association, of which you are now officially a member. You are now at the center of the broad community of students, lecturers, firms, practitioners, alumni that is MIB. Our hope is that you can actively participate to this community's life, of this little world, and take advantage of this. In the end, dear graduates of the 28th edition of the MBA in International Business, my sincere congratulations and best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the MBA Associate Director to take the floor. Please welcome Tim Baxter.
Quick technical break. How are you? How are you feeling? Yeah, it's good there, isn't it? Don't get used to it. It finishes very quickly. Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to speak about something that I've called in the balance. In English, the idea of hanging in the balance is precarious. It's umbilico in Italian. And I'm going to divide this into two different sections. So, let's begin. Tomorrow, 10 years ago, there will be another event that will be remembered, but not celebrated, because 10 years ago, tomorrow, was when Lehman Brothers, the fourth biggest US investment bank, filed for bankruptcy. The impact of what that basically triggered a domino effect, and this domino effect had an impact that's still living with us now. So what I'd like to do is just start to think about how we can avoid this happening again, and then have a look at not just in terms of, what can I say, huge geopolitical things, but simple things for us. So let's begin. It's very fashionable at the moment to speak about independence politically and so on. This is what Leandro Herrero says about independence. Independence today is dead. Nothing that we do as individuals or employees in an organization or as a group or as a country is any longer independent. So it's a dream. In fact, Herrero has quite an interesting provocation for his clients. He says they should start writing declarations of interdependence, not independence. In other words, trying to understand exactly what activities you can do all by yourself. You'll find it very difficult. Try it when you get back home. What he says is that we should try and change focus from trying to preserve independence to mastering interdependence. And I think the reason why what happened with Lehman Brothers 10 years ago tomorrow became so hugely impacting on the world was for one reason, which I'm going to put down to digital revolution. Now, I'm not an expert. Francesco Venier is, but he's not here. So I'm afraid you're going to have my version. The good news and bad news, digital revolution, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely the digital revolution has and will continue to offer amazing things. Bad news, there are quite a lot of challenges that come along with that. So I'd just like to have a quick look at that. So we'll start with something that I have stolen from my colleague, Francesco Venier. Thank you, Francesco. We're at the beginning of a huge restructuring. Technology is running ahead, but our companies and ways of working together are far behind. So what we're saying is technology is making massive advances, but not in line with how humans deal with it and how they deal with one another. And I think that's very important. So I'd like to have a look at this bad news, good news. And we'll start with something very simple. Thanks to the digital revolution, we have been able to deal with distance. We can now communicate incredibly well across distance. All of these things in the screen behind us have helped us reduce that. And that's a really good thing. However, what we didn't realize when all these wonderful technologies came along was that just by managing to deal with distance doesn't mean that you're able to deal with the lack of proximity. So human beings far apart are always human beings far apart, and there are many things far apart that you just can't do when you're together. Let's go to the next one. Oh, well, naturally, you know, Andrea Trecconi, he likes an MIT quote, so we'll give an MIT quote. So Sherry Turkle, 2012, she said this: technology proposes itself as the architect of our intimacies. Just think about Facebook, huh? Our network life allows us to hide from each other, even as we are tethered or connected to each other. Digital connections offer the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. The name of that book is Alone Together. I've got an example, ladies and gentlemen, from MBA 28. A lack of proximity, ladies and gentlemen. Alone together. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. The next element number 2, connectivity. It's amazing, and it will continue to be more and more amazing how connected the world is, and that's a great thing, and it offers opportunities. However, with that is the challenge that we didn't realize about before, which is the idea that actually the more connected we are, the less open we tend to be. Echo chambers. Who are you following on Twitter? Who are your Facebook friends? What we tend to do is hang out with people who have similar points of view, and that's not a positive thing. In other words, collaboration isn't necessarily helped by connectivity if all we do is listen to people who think like us. Let's go to the third positive. So good news, available anytime you want. 24/7. You can now get a pizza anytime you want. 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, not Trieste, but apart from Trieste, 3 o'clock in the morning, you want a pizza, you can get a pizza. If you want to get something on Amazon at 2 in the morning, you can do that. Fantastic. However, again, there's a downside, there's a challenge. And the challenge to this is, it's true that available anytime you want, but that means also available anytime they want. Because the more you're connected, the more they can have your time as well. And that means that more people are stressed out and more people are worried about life-work balance. Sorry, work-life balance. The final one, instant satisfaction. The idea of clicks. It's easy to get a dopamine hit these days, yeah? So as soon as I click on something, I want to know that it's happened. Great, okay, buy now with a one-click, Amazon, shop now, pay later, download free now. It seems too good to be true because it is too good to be true. The price that we're paying for this, ladies and gentlemen, is we're getting very bad at doing something very important, which is called deferred gratification. Let me explain a little bit about deferred gratification. In the 1960s and the 1970s, there were a series of very famous experiments called the marshmallow test. And the marshmallow test went like this. Let's take a small child, not just one, but we'll keep on repeating it, and let's give that child the option putting a plate in front of them, to have one thing now or two things later. In other words, we have a sweet, una caramella, and it's put on a plate in front of them. And basically, the scientist says, now, you can have this now, or if you want, in 5 minutes' time, I'll give you two of them. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to go the instant hit of one, or can you wait for the two? And then what happened, because scientists are really evil, is that the scientist pretended he was getting a phone call from outside, and he went outside and they filmed the little kids as basically they were tortured as, well, should I go for one or two? Should I go for one or two? Obviously, the more that we have instant gratification in terms of the dopamine hit, the more difficult it is to understand the idea of investing now for a bigger return later. What we really need to do is to try and find a balance. As I said before, the fact that the digital revolution has offered us the way to reduce distance, increase connectivity, have more availability, increase satisfaction, that's really good stuff. But we've got to find a balance between that and these challenges on the other side there. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, will the digital revolution help us? So, online MBA? Absolutely not. I'm going to offer you something, ladies and gentlemen, which is a lot more old school. I'm going to suggest that the best way to balance these challenges is an old school, face-to-face, 1-year MBA in international business. I know it's shocking, but there you go. I'd like to explain why. So let's have a look at those challenges again. First, proximity. Okay, proximity. How are we going to deal with proximity? How are we going to get people to start to understand the challenges of proximity and working through them? How about taking people from all over the world and putting them in the same classroom? Giving them a location. Giving them something which is, what can I say, a territory for everyone to start off with. And how about helping those people with processes, but then letting them do it, create experiences? Now, have a look at this. This is how they started, ladies and gentlemen. You'll notice, if you're very good quick counters, that not every person on the slide behind me is in front of us now dressed as Harry Potter. But that's not because they've given up. We've got a couple of guys I can see right in front of us who are doing part-time. We've got other guys who, for various reasons, can't be with us today. But that was and is MBA 28. So, this is just one little bit of the experiences that MBA 28 created. This is the way to deal with the proximity challenge. Getting people together to do things together. You see, people aren't just names or numbers or passports. People are individuals. And the more you can get individuals to interact together and have experiences together, the more that you can get over this challenge of proximity. Hernando Soto, a Peruvian economist. Identity isn't you. Identity is how you are related to things. You've got to be located. We gave you the location. The mystical Ferdinandeo Palace. Thank you, Stefano Pilotto. Here it is. However, all the good work was yours. Let's go to collaboration. See, one thing is putting different people together. Another thing is fostering, helping collaboration. Well, okay, we gave them various things to start the process, but, we can only go so far. It's up to them. They started to understand how difficult it is to work with different people. They started to understand how challenging it is to work with people who are different from them, who have different points of view. But you know what? Once you manage to work out how to do that, it's very gratifying, extremely gratifying. How about available anytime they want? I find this really important here. Basically, you decided to dedicate a year of your life to you. That's a luxury. You took the plug out for 1 year. And I know you've got busy lives, and I know you've got friends, and you've got work, and you've got so on. So it's a big investment that you made. But this gave you the opportunity to rethink the idea of time. Because you now know, I hope, that actually, if we become slaves of time, we're not very happy bunnies. And the whole idea would be to rethink, well, how are you using time? And more importantly, how are they using your time? The idea of time management. I'm not going to go into it, so don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. But very simply, the idea of trying to find ways of opening up Q2. In other words, what's important for you? What's going to help get the best from you? And I hope that this year has given you the idea to start to rethink the idea of time. Otherwise, other people will use your time fantastically well for them. How about deferred gratification? I think most people who go to MBAs have an idea that as soon as they finish their MBA, they're going to get a great job and a massive salary. Nope. It's deferred gratification. It's not one marshmallow. But you know what? The fact that you've spent 1 year means that I think that you will have the possibility of having a lot more than 2 marshmallows. So the whole idea of what can we do in order to think about raising the bar, not going for just the short term. The world is too much short-termism. But to think about the medium-long term, to raise your targets. It's the journey that matters, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to get a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is symbolic of all the work that you did, but it's symbolic. And all the work you did and the experience that my colleagues have spoken about is what you have made, and that's important. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to suggest that the best way to balance, so in other words, to look for the right balance, is to do something completely different from this digital revolution idea and go back towards the idea of a full-time face-to-face master's. We go to the second part of my discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not a historian. My colleague Stefano Pilotto with a beautiful papillon is. So, Stefano, this is an advert from 1915, Daddy, What Did You Do in the Great War? And it was designed to try and make gentlemen in the British Empire who had not joined the British Army feel guilty about it. So basically it was emotional blackmail. However, the idea of Daddy, What Did You Do in the War? Continued over time. So for example, in 1966, there was also a film called What Did You Do in the War, Daddy? What it means today, basically, is how did you participate? What did you do? So my second part of the talk is going to be, what did you guys do? And I think it's very relevant that we add Daddy, because this MBA, ladies and gentlemen, MBA 28, have got the highest proportion of mummies and daddies we've ever had. I mean, there are lots of mummies and daddies here. And if you're not a mummy or daddy yet, don't worry, there's time. So, here we go. What did you do in the MBA? Basically, it's this. What did you do during your year at MIB? Well, last year, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that there was one person who had a particular hobby of taking photos of his colleagues eating bananas. I don't know why. I didn't ask. Fortunately, this year, we don't have the same problem. But we do have some interesting ways of spending your time. So a gentleman also enjoys taking photos this year. His speciality is taking photos of people whilst they're sleeping. Actually, it's unfair to say sleeping. Let's say snoozing, okay? So it's not a deep sleep. It's a little quick snooze there, you know. I mean, it's not for a long time. When you do it, when you're my age, we call it a senior moment, but you're too young for that. Let's have a look at a couple of examples here. Now, this is particularly interesting because here we've got an expert snoozer meets an expert photographer of snoozers. And just to show you he's an expert, there we go. Who comes prepared on a question? Okay. Of course, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, so sooner or later the photographer was going to get photographed sleeping, and there you go. Thank you, Edo. We're going to move from that hobby to another hobby because amongst the MBA 28 there was, I'm going to refer to him as the King of Hats. The King of Hats. Let me just show you what I mean by the King of Hats. We're talking about lots and lots and lots and lots of hats. Notice the full body hat, bottom right there. Okay. Now, the King of Hats was incredibly successful in influencing his colleagues. Of course, it takes a long time to become a master in the wear of hats, but you know, you can manage it over time. We'll have a look at a couple of examples. Yeah, okay. Thank you for participating. Got to work a little bit more. Nearly. Bingo. Fantastic. There you go. Now, not just him. Here's another example. Lady here. Not bad, not bad. Ah, there we go. Fantastic, fantastic. It doesn't stop there, however, ladies and gentlemen, because it wasn't just two of them. You see, he was managed to influence, I think I'm going to misquote Arlo Guthrie here, who says, if one person does it, then they're eccentric. If two people do it, then they're strange. If three people do it, it's an organization. But if more than three do it, it's a movement. And what happened in the MBA 28 was the King of Hats created a hat movement. So we had Cuban hat, we had Russian type of hat, we had dogs wearing hats, and we had the King of Hats giving kisses to teddy bears wearing hats. Didn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. We got to a big problem where the MBA refused to do corporate visits where they were not allowed to wear hats. I'm not joking. It got worse. Even the staff started wearing hats. How about putting together the King of Snoozing in hats? There you go. Okay, doesn't stop there. So apart from hobbies, what did they do? Well, let's go to the King of Hats, ladies and gentlemen. Let's find out if he was influenced by his context. Here is the King of Hats. And, you know, an American guy, maybe he can learn something from Italian fashion. And it's looking pretty good here. Here he is at a wedding. But hang on. Just have a little closer look here. Take your jacket off, Eric. What's going on? Oh, my God. You're wearing a football shirt with a bow tie. Obviously, it's still work in progress there. Let's move on. High culture. Yes, you see, during the MBA 28, many of our graduates took part in high culture, culture with a capital C, the opera, and that influenced and that stimulated them, ladies and gentlemen, to get in touch with art, literally. to follow the joy of dance. Cultural exchanges. The fact that we had so many different people and so many different inputs. We had the Argentinians who managed to influence heavily the drinking of mate, ladies and gentlemen. I have a couple of examples. A Jordanian drinking mate. Leader of the day drinking mate. But it wasn't just the Brazilians, the Argentinians. It was also the Brazilians. I'm not going to ask them, though. I have no idea what that is, so we'll just leave it there. Now, it's very important in terms of reducing this problem of proximity and getting people to collaborate. This idea of food here in Italy, the whole idea of food as a social glue. And there were some formal dinners, as you can see here. But not just formal dinners, ladies and gentlemen, because the MBA 28 again took that to another level. And you can see just a selection here of a number of informal dinners. And then again, Argentinian meets Ljubljanska. There we go. Dining doesn't have to be outside. What about dining at home? I've got two examples of that, ladies and gentlemen. The importance of fruit when you wake up. 0-kilometer grapes from South Africa, first thing in the morning. And how about getting into a wonderful plate of whatever this is, Pasquale? How about class? Because actually, you know, your parents and friends here are getting worried. They said, were they in class? Yes, they were in class. A couple of examples. Anna says master class in noughts and crosses. Fernandez, master class in creative finance. And some guy who came to sell us plastic boxes. Let's move on. Bloomberg, baffling Bloomberg. Here we have Martino showing us he is a finance manager. Why? Because he has a red pen in his hand. How about our friend Andrea? Andrea is showing us he knows what the color blue is, and the pointy bit is definitely blue. Yes, Wolves of Wall Street, maybe, but not the American version. There we go. That wasn't the only challenge, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say there were other challenges because you guys had to deal with angry Argentinian program managers, aggressive accountancy professors, and you still managed to get through. And I think the key to this year, ladies and gentlemen, going back to the first part of my talk, is this. The more we're connected to everything and everybody and every activity, the more we need to know who we are. Unless I know who I am, I don't know where I am in the world. So I started off by saying in bilico, precarious, in the balance. And I hope after 1 year we've decided slowly to get thinking about looking for the balance, as Andrea Traconia said. And as Professor Nanut said, we are part of that new journey. So you start the new journey in terms of putting to action this balance as of today. We look forward to being by your side. Thank you very much indeed, guys, and congratulations.
Dear participants, during this year, we have mentioned many times the importance of being part of our community. Let's welcome a former MBA participant and now president of the MBA, of the MIB Alumni Association, Dorina Stanculescu.
No paper for me. Hello, everybody. It is a pleasure and a strong emotion as always, because this is not the first time I was talking to Tim before. But since I care, it's always a strong emotion for me to be here and talk to you today on this important day of your graduation. I also have a problem that I have to speak after Tim did, so everybody knows this is not easy. On the contrary, this makes things a lot more complicated. But if you think about it, at MIB, they don't really work to make life easier for us, right? Okay, jokes aside, I want to warmly congratulate you for this MBA graduation and for the beautiful diploma you are going to receive today. Though it's been 7 years already, it still feels like yesterday that I was seated where you are seated today, together with my MBA 21 colleagues, very anxiously waiting for my MBA diploma, okay? Probably with the same set of emotions that you are experiencing today. I don't know about you, but I remember I felt happy, I felt relieved, but I also felt sad. I felt sad and a bit melancholic because a year was coming to an end, and that was a year full of discoveries, experiences. It was an intense year, but I was sad. To be honest, I was wrong, because what came to an end and what comes to an end today for you, it's your full-time MBA program here at MIB, but not your MIB experience. Hopefully, what you did during this year was, how should I put it, lay the foundations of your MIB experience. The most important part of this foundation, I would call, it's not the technical knowledge. I hope Professor Nanut and Professor Traconia won't disagree with me. This is very important. The diploma is very important. But for sure, what matters, what you will remember, are the people you met, the moments, the connections you've made, the way you dealt with stress and unfamiliar situations. Thank God Giorgio and Laura are not here. In my case, that was the accounting and the finance exams. I hope somebody will agree with me. Also, the way you dealt with failure, disappointment, and maybe also the way you shared happiness and satisfaction. That was when you passed, finally, the finance and the accounting exam, okay? Good. So we talked about laying foundations. Now it's time to, to add bricks to this foundation. And this is where the MIB Trieste Alumni Association steps in. So this, if you allow it, and if you actively get involved with it, this beautiful community that welcomes you today as full members and that hopefully might become a point of reference for you in the future. So this community might be of huge help for you in writing future chapters of your MIB story, okay? It is not easy to engage people. As president of the association, it's a year that I'm the president of the association, I find it very challenging to involve all the alumni. Okay, it will never be possible to involve everybody. But nevertheless, we are growing and we are becoming stronger and stronger. And my main purpose is to make all the members of the association fully seize the potential that the association has to offer, because it has to offer a huge potential. I would sum up this potential in 3 main points. Number 1 is take advantage of the many opportunities that arise by connecting people with different experiences and different backgrounds. I think you've heard that before, and the opportunities are numerous. Number 2 is take advantage of our lifelong learning opportunities and also by our learning events, leisure events, sorry. We do organize a lot of formal standard events, conferences and workshops, but also more informal, like networking cafes and MIB on the Snow and football matches and you name it. And I'm sure you are already familiar with some of this. Number 3, it's more personal. This is up to you. You should be an active member trying to help strengthen the value of the MIB brand. As Professor Nanout said it, you become an ambassador of the MIB brand, and thus we can all enhance the value of the diploma we all hold today. On behalf of the entire MIB Alumni Association, I want to leave you today with a message. More than a message, it's a thought-provoking question that has been circulated a little bit online. I don't know if you know Ibram Kendi. He is an American author and historian. And this question is about what's next for your mind and about being an intellectual. Why do I ask you this? Because as MBA holders, maybe we think that we are intellectuals just because we possess a wealth of information. Well, I've got news for you. That's not true. Intellectuals, so we don't measure people's intellect based on the amount of information and of knowledge they possess. On the contrary, intellectuals are people that have a tremendous desire to know, to discover new things, always open to self-critique. So, intellectuals, I would also say, they are governed by the will to discover, and they often challenge the status quo of things. So my question to you is, should I provide you with new evidence? Are you ready to change the way you perceive the world today? Are you ready to go beyond preconceptions? Okay, you can think of this so the point of my address here was to leave you with a small food for thought, I can say. Tim, I think that's correct in English. And also to try to transfer to you some of my enthusiasm and my passion for the MIB Alumni Association. Therefore, I warmly invite you to come and talk to me, to the board of the association, to the staff of the school, to give us your feedbacks, your constructive feedback, not only the critique, thank you, and also propose ideas. They are more than welcome. So, MBA 28, it was a pleasure and an honor to talk to you. Thank you for your attention and all the best.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Stefano Venier, CEO of ERA Group.
Dear all and dear graduates, buonasera in Italian, okay? I think you have learned at least this word in your stay here in Italy. So let me thank first the Dean of MIB and the MBA Academy for inviting me today, and also for the round introduction I received. The title of my speech is going to be Sustainability, the driver for strategic change. Don't be scared, it's not going to be another class, one more. I think you have had enough. It's a way to, I will try to pass you a few messages that I wish these could be useful for you in the next future. And feel free to raise your hands in the case I'm doing it too long, okay? First of all, let me say that I enthusiastically accepted the invitation of Mr. Nanut to come here and to deliver this speech to future entrepreneurs and managers. That not only because of the fact that talking to, let's say, beautiful minds leaves a special flavor, but also because the topic I've been asked to talk about, sustainability, is part of the future challenges that all of you will be asked to deal with in the near future. Where there is a challenge, by the way, there is an opportunity for those who are able to catch implication properly, deeply, and specifically want to take the leadership. I think that today there are two radical winds of change blowing from two different directions. One is sustainability, and the other, as Baxter said, is digitalization. These two winds are converging into a perfect transformative storm in the global economy. To this convergence, I will come back later. Now, let me focus on sustainability topic. 2018 is a year full of news about climate change and rapid acceleration we have been facing. Last summer has been noteworthy for all-time heat records posted all around the world, from Canada to Sweden, from California to Japan and even Oman. In the last 30 years, the global temperature has increased by 6 times more than it has been increasing in the 30 years before, and this process faced an exponential growth in the last years. We have to be frank, 2/3 of the budget emissions of COP21 is gone. The Earth Overshoot Day, that is the day when the world has entirely used the resources regenerated in 360 days, is set now at the 2nd of August, that is 1 month ago. And I could keep on listing on losses of biodiversity, forests, desertification, and so forth. Even so, talking about sustainability doesn't mean that we only have to look at environmental topic on the environmental angle. That is, by the way, definitely the dominant topic on the press. It also requires to pay attention to social conditions and diversity and inclusion management. In other words, and I think it's crucial for future leaders, we have to look at divergence between the extreme of the social system. Last World Economic Forum highlighted in the survey on global risks that 80% of the top 10 risks in the world are related to environmental and social events. No doubt about where we are heading to if we don't radically change the direction. We are definitely at a crossroad. However, let me tell you up front that who is speaking is profoundly convinced that we still have a hope, and we have to be optimistic. And I want to reassure you that there is still time to tackle these issues, and there is a scope. And this transformational time can be of absolute interest for those of you who want to act as leading player and to chase the all opportunities that can arise. There are different ways to do that, by the way. I'd like to share with you my personal opinion that comes straight from the experience I've been doing with HERA and with my employees, because involvement of employees, as you will listen from me, it's essential. And I will try to pass my experience through 5 key messages. Let me start with the first. Sustainability must be a matter of core mission and strategic positioning for a company to succeed. The battle to get companies interested in sustainability, I would say, is basically over. No large company debates whether environmental and social issues affect the company's bottom line or the business resilience. Almost 1,000 companies in the world and 1/4 of the Fortune 500 have joined the Global Compact. Global Compact is the pact between United Nations and the business community that was launched in 2000 by Kofi Annan. It seems to be the same for people as inhabitants of the planet, or at least in the case of the developed world. According to a recent survey made by Ipsos in Italy, just to make an example, 65% of the people think that some actions for the benefit of environment and society need to be done, and those actions need to be taken soon. In addition, this call to action is coming more and more from financial investors as well. Asset management companies have been looking with rising attention to SRI companies and green investments. $23,000 billion are the total assets under management that goes under the SRI umbrella. 50% of the European investments are in this asset class. And those in Northern America have been jumping annually by 15–20% in the last years. 36% of the cases, the institutional investors set thresholds on SRI metrics to cut off as a cutoff criteria to consider investments, or even excluding by policy certain sectors. Let me make the example of coal production, is the most highlighting one. BlackRock is a well-known company and is a well-known example of this new attitude. And also the European Commission released in March the action plan on sustainable finance, which sets out the necessary step for the financial actors to contribute to European sustainability development and objectives. Therefore, sustainability is on the strategic agenda and is there to stay for long. But there is a point. As MIT recently confirmed, 90% of the worldwide managers understand the importance of sustainability to tackle with climate change or the other risks, as I said before, but only 60% of them have included the sustainability into the strategy of the company, and only 25% of them as a business case to show. There are still too many fence-sitters. There are still too many managers who wonder, what is the business case for sustainability? On this respect, there is also a widespread misconception. Sustainability is still seen as a costly choice or even a matter of charity. That is not the case. This explains the gap between awareness and action. In fact, not all the CEOs are aware that indeed sustainability is a business driver, an opportunity to redesign the products and services, and is a technology trigger. As demonstrated by several studies made by Harvard, Stanford, you can quote, companies operating more sustainably are more profitable. They manage the risk better, are more innovative, and build a stronger brand value. There is another research from Smith School of Oxford University that shows that 80% of those studies on companies shows that those companies are much better performing on stock price. These are proven facts. Viewing the business through sustainability lens helps to create a better company, a resilient and responsive to employees, customers, new generation, and society in general. And also, not to mention the fact that people want to work for an organization that share their values and their interests. Nothing on this is merely philanthropic, while all of this is about business value. Nevertheless, to take these opportunities, a strong effort needs to be done. It's not simply a matter of working around how or what of the company, referring to the Synex model. It's mainly a question of making sustainable development part of the company mission. In other words, it's a matter of redefining the why of the company and those values which need to be shared within the whole organization. This explains the gaps between taking action and being aware of the social context and what is now requested by the business community. I can say that not all the CEOs are ready to leave the old road for the new one. But you guys, you are young, you are enthusiastic, ready to change the world, and most of you don't have this kind of psychological barriers or constraint. You have a different energy, a different power. Moreover, as sustainability is a transformative driver, I do strongly believe that if you lead the change, you can take further benefit from the first mover advantage. Not only to strengthen the strategic business positioning, but also to increase what is becoming more and more relevant asset for a company, that is the reputation. Let me now tell you how ERA has been fulfilling the gap and why we decided to be the first mover, at least in Italy. ERA manages energy, water, waste businesses, three fundamental goods, or we should say much better resources, related to the environment. And it's a company deeply connected to a specific territory that is strong, by the way, strongly urbanized and strongly industrialized through distributed services. Therefore, a few years ago, when I was appointed as CEO, it became clear to me that ERA could generate additional value engaged in sustainability-related activities, and at the same time, that we had to start managing the core business in a sustainable perspective, embedding sustainability in the company strategy so to guarantee a resilient and regenerative future to our reference area and communities to better manage the rising internal and external risks. By the way, this change is fully consistent with our original mission statement, quoting core purposes like original business model, exploiting innovation, respect of local environment for next generations. Fully consistent. Consistently with our mission, we joined the Global Compact. And we had a strong coherence between the company's strategic perspective and 10 of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Even since we have kept on integrating sustainability principle into our businesses and into our management rewarding system. That is a key point. I will come back later. Listening and engaging people and communities, pursuing single goals that go far beyond the simple marketing of intents. It's something like saving energy for your own operation, but also helping customers to do that. Promoting renewable generation and use, developing green products from waste collected, protecting biodiversity of the Adriatic Sea and of water sources through an effective water cycle management, reusing ground, recovering sand for beach settlement, and all that stuff, developing an employee welfare and equal opportunity system, and I can go forth with other examples. Our action went through a progressive and widespread change focused on the example as a key pillar of the personal and organizational behavior. Let me now move on to the second message. To truly embed sustainability in your strategy, you need to reset growth and value drivers. The shared value could be a perspective. Embedding a sustainable approach on the company management first means to evolve from the traditional corporate social responsibility approach. The CSR approach, that is good to start, by the way, is part of a perspective drawing the attention on what can be done to reduce the impact of human activities on social eco-social system, and basically works around the traditional product and services. Here you act again on how and what of the Synex model. It's a company-centric on the track of the traditional economic development model. Therefore, it needs to be enhanced, turning the approach from reaction to action. That is totally different. It's a turnaround. If you really want to redefine the wine, you have to focus on your company purpose and ask yourself if it matches with the bigger picture. A new perspective is therefore required, a perspective compounding the economic and financial growth on one side and the social progress on the other side. In our opinion, this view has been well represented by Porter and Kramer in 2006, I don't know if you heard about, that is called shared value. With the United Nations agenda on one hand, and the nature of activities managed on the other hand, we found natural to build a new perspective, crossing the twos, getting to define the perspective of the shared value. Shared value is created by those business activities that generate operating margin while meeting the global agenda targets. That is at least for us. With reference to ERA Group, the CSV approach is a new perspective for reclassifying the economic results as well as of future goals and strategic investment choices. This approach has already allowed us to develop projects and activities geared toward the CSV. To do that, we set three major drivers to steer the strategy and the action. First one was smart use of energy. That refers to the goals 7 and 13, that are the goals that engage on energy efficiency, renewable energy, and climate change. The second driver is efficient use of resources to tackle with the overshoot day, and that refers to the goal number 12 on circular economy, and number 6 and 14 for water quality and marine and coastal ecosystem protection. The third driver, of course, relates to the territory and engage us on innovation and contribution to the development of territories. And here comes the goal 4, 5, 8, 9, and 11, from education to gender equality and sustainable cities. At the end of my speech, I will show you a video summarizing some of the achievements that we have reached on the different targets mentioned, but let me now go on the third message. The third message is on drivers. Two core elements are required to deal with these changes: technology and people engagement. I started this speech expressing my personal convincement that sustainability and digitalization are converging into a transformative storm blowing on the global economy. However, I think that there is a difference between the two. Sustainability is the purpose. Digitalization is a mean, is an enabler of change. Therefore, digitalization fosters the development of new products and service solutions. It underpins significant leaps toward a new, more sustainable model of development. There are two aspects on the pattern of innovation development that are worthy to be mentioned. The first one is innovation is not limited to digitalization and the virtual world, but it touches several other technologies benefiting from data analytics and artificial intelligence or triggered by the new set of information that comes available. The second, innovation, as Baxter said, is exponential in its development. And that is why I'm confident that the time left is still sufficient to avoid the final showdown. Coming back to HERA case, there are three main areas in which technology provides a large contribution in terms of innovation sustainability. One is asset management. As I said, we are engaged on services through a network of pipes or wires along the territory and in the cities. And technology helps us to much better manage those assets to pursue what we call it utility 4.0, which makes assets more resilient and efficient in terms of resources. That is getting more and more important because of the climate change. Assets and infrastructure are much more stressed in these days because of the events related to the climate change. The second deals with the resource and waste management, and that is aimed at developing new sustainable solutions to enhance material recovery and recycle, reducing the environmental impact, developing new kind of products, like we are going to do in the next days opening a new unit that will reconvert the humid part of the waste into biomethane to fed into the network for the local transportation, reducing, in that case, also the level of emissions in the cities. And then finally, energy supply towards smart use of energy. That is essential to cope with the targets on energy efficiency. All of this provide a fundamental contribution to pursue a restorative and regenerative and resilient ecosystem that for 70–75% of the European people and soon for all the rest of the world will mean to live in sustainable cities. But technology can't do that everything. The human contribution is still fundamental. Customer engagement is in fact key for any positive result. It makes the difference between success and failure. When you engage your customer, you draw them closer to your brand, your business, your organization, and mostly your values. And here comes again the importance of reputation. If you can't do that, those kind of things, if you don't have a strong reputation with your customers. In the case of Vera, customer and citizen engagement is essential to finalize projects and sustainability actions. We can draw up a perfect tool, but people, behavior, and attitude matters as well. Let's take the example of plastic recycling or transformation of organic waste into biogas that I was mentioning to you. How can we do that if people don't sort waste properly? And again, energy and resource saving depends on a change in behavior, in habits, underpinned by the information we can provide to customers, but then customer has to use them. As there are little doubts that companies engage better with their stakeholder if there is some kind of emotional connection or identification in value, HERA carried out initiatives meant to engage stakeholders on common path of shared benefits and values in a very well-distributed way. Let's move now on message number 4. Tracking and rewarding are key pieces for a successful transition. To successfully implement the transition, you will need to organize a tracking and measurement system on the achievements in the different projects and operations. Learning from Peter Drucker's most valuable quote in business management that says, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, we can rephrase it and saying, you get what you measure in shared value and the SDGs targets. Oops, one less. Consistently with the journey we have been making, in 2016, we started measuring the EBITDA margin that is related to shared value. How many CapEx were consistent with the SDGs, and how of some specific KPIs we need to track, like reduction in carbon footprint, production and use of renewable energy, percentage of packaging and waste recycled, quality of water, gender mix, hours trading, and so forth. The list is pretty long and related to all the 3 strategic targets I mentioned to you: smart use of energy, efficient use of resources, and innovation and contribution. And here it comes one more, the key angle about people engagement that relates to the management accountability and the rewarding scheme. That again is essential. In HERA, shared value goals has been set for long-term rewarding of management, while targets on project development KPIs are part of the yearly variable management compensation. Final message, the 5th. To mark the step change, you need to adapt your reporting and communication to the new perspective. That is, again, extremely important. You need to pass the message. Joining the Global Compact, companies commit to release annually communication on progress toward SDGs. 65% of the 7,000 companies reports are compliant with the GRI metrics, the international metrics for, let's say, certifying the quality of the reports. And according to KPMG, in 2017, 93% of the world's largest companies published a sustainability report, which has become mandatory for European listed companies companies with the Barnier Directive. Again, as for the awareness, the game on reporting is substantially over. The question is different. Therefore, the attention should move from being formally compliant to certain regulation and the role assigned to reporting and communicating effectively. A large part of the companies aiming only to be compliant with solely focus on what, forgetting the how, and especially forgetting the correlation with the why, that instead has to be the starting point, be the starting point behind the reporting. Therefore, consistently, with the step change we have made implementing with the step change in 2016, we decided to deeply review our sustainable report, putting CSV as the main part of the report. Global and local priorities are the shared targets. 3 strategic drivers and relevant actions are the roadmap. KPIs are the mean that drives the target setting, the tracking and measurement, and finally the return to management and stakeholders. And now let me show you how it appears with the contribution of the communication. Can we start the video? That is a very short video that will show you and summarize part of the results we have achieved throughout the last 12 months.
Think of how many good things one person can do, and how many things a company employing nearly 9,000 people can do. Or what all the people that this company reaches every day can do all together. This is the Air Group, one of Italy's leading multi-utility companies. We provide gas, electricity, water, and waste collection and treatment services. It is a responsibility we take on with full commitment. Every year, with our sustainability report, we tell what has been done and look forward to what we pledge to do. Being sustainable is about guaranteeing to people all the energy and water they need, while safeguarding these resources. The United Nations has listed 17 goals to be achieved by 2030 to guarantee our planet's future. 10 of these have become our priorities. From these come the challenges we take out to create shared value. That is an economic value and a sustainable development for the areas and communities where we operate. To do this, we are following 3 directives. The smart use of energy, the efficient use of resources, innovation and contribution to the development of the territory. One person can achieve a lot, but many people together can make a better world.
Okay, I think, of course, there is a long way down that need to be done, and but I wish you find it reasonably inspiring for you. Let me spend the last 3 minutes of my speech talking about something different that do not refer to sustainability and the topic, but let me give you some, let's say, thoughts about your future. Some thoughts that, as you will hear, have something in common with what Baxter told you before. Those talks firstly comes from my personal management experience and refers to, let's say, the time I've spent throughout different companies I work with. And I like to, let's say, tell you three different very short stories. These three stories start with the first when I was really a new graduate with brilliant scores like you. And in my first weeks of work, I had the chance to have a conversation with the general manager of the business unit I was hired for. The conversation was very short, but unforgettable. He said, "Welcome in Electrolux first. And now let me tell you a key house rule. We don't need genius that work by himself for the best solution. We need leaders and team workers at the same time." That is absolutely true. The second experience came a few years later, okay, when I used to work for a group called E&I, that is an oil and gas company. In this case, the conversation happened with a professor that, by the way, used to be a prime minister a few years before. And he said to me, "Don't stop building your knowledge for all your life. And don't be too anxious to get to the top, because who takes shortcuts don't stay there long." And that is absolutely true. The third went after an MBA that I did as you, and at that time I used to work for a consultant firm, international consultant firm, and they taught to me first, you need to constantly apply analytics for the continuous improvement, but if you want to make the difference, you need to think out of the box. That is the case. And now let me leave you with three, I would say, recommendations to you that, by the way, have been driving me for the last 30 years of my job. The first one is never stop being humble. The second is never stop raising your bar. The third is never stop leading by example, but not simply doing the things right, but doing the right things. Okay? Future is in your hands. Believe in yourself, and good luck, guys.
Dear MBA 28, now it's time to officially celebrate all your efforts. I invite Professor Nanut and Professor Traconia to join me in presenting your diplomas. On behalf of the Faculty Committee, the school is pleased to confer the MBA in International Business degree to the following. From Argentina, Adrián Alejandro Bellitieri. From Croatia, Lovro Denona. From Colombia, Cristian Camilo Duarte Herrera. From Italy, Giovanna Gonzato. From Italy, Gianluca Guido. From Venezuela and United States, Pascual Pellegrino. From Italy, Gabriele Perselo. From Brazil, Samantha Posamay Pistor. From Italy, Giovanni Prezzotto. From Brazil, Marja Falcao Ribeiro. From Brazil, Fernanda Rossi Pizzol. From Argentina, Eduardo Sebastián Sansone Alvo. From Jordan, Anas Abdallah Shaban. Anas, I hope you're watching live on streaming. Congratulations. The school is pleased to confer the MBA in International Business degree with honors to the following. From Lebanon, Joanna Bitar. From Latvia, Marina Brennere. From Brazil, José Luis Dalagnol Valentini. From Italy, Martino Mersek. From Italy, Marco Petiziol. From Brazil, Wellington Ribeiro Pinton. From Slovenia, Živa Semolic. I hope you are looking up, Živa. Congratulations. From Italy, Andrea Sinico. From Australia, Carly Shivek. The school is pleased to award the MBA in International Business degree with high honors to the following. From Croatia, Bojan Goljevček. From Argentina, Gonzalo Moreno Micheli. Congratulations to you all. And now it's your turn. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of MBA 28, please welcome Gonzalo Moreno Micheli.
Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished authorities, dear professors, dear MIB staff, dear colleagues, dear families and friends. First of all, I would like to thank all my friends over here for having provided me with the honor and the pleasure of delivering this speech. We would like to thank all of you for being here this afternoon, either in person or online. It's been a long journey together, full of challenges, as Tim already mentioned. 1 year ago, we were sitting here next doors in the training room, surrounded by perfect strangers. Many of us came here on our own, living away from home and our loved ones. It was not an easy decision to take, but that feeling of uprooting didn't last long. We continued to miss our home country, of course, but the feeling was attenuated by the new family we have consolidated over here. Throughout this journey, we learned a lot about ourselves and about others. We learned a lot from ourselves and from others. We have come this far together. Throughout this year, we have shared several laughs and tears. Tears of joy, tears of failure, or even frustration sometimes. Because all of us, in some way, have failed in something during this year. Nonetheless, we have learned how to get back on track, how to persevere, and ultimately, how to accomplish our goals. We have also learned to trust each other and at the same time to be loyal, to be true to ourselves. We have also learned not to judge each other, but to appreciate and celebrate the differences existing among us. We are all equals, but certainly not the same. More than once, we have procrastinated together and helped each other to succeed, pulling or pushing each other to improve, to go that extra mile. Today, we are not the same group of 30 people who knew each other 1 year ago in the outdoor activities in Lignano, struggling to take a ball from point A to point B as fast as possible, playing blindfold with building blocks, sharing mate or Brazilian brigadeiros and different food from our home countries, or even laughing at someone who had mistakenly sent a picture. We have also played several football matches together and have also sung O Sole Mio roughly 1 million times, every time louder. Thank you very much, Professor Piloto. We have also experienced the Bora wind in winter and managed to survive. A very special person who certainly deserves a whole speech just for herself is Victoria Pletz. Vicky. Undoubtedly, she's the heart of the MBA. She's been always there for all of us in times of need. She would always take care of all of us and give her best with the objective of making our experience as pleasant and enriching as possible. Vicky, thank you. Thank you. And personally, and to sum up, I want to tell you that I have found here an awesome group of people with whom challenges have been much easier and fun to overcome. I will always relish these memories, both in my mind and in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Dear graduates, today you have successfully completed your educational path at MIB, and you are now ready to face new challenges. As your program manager, I had the opportunity to follow you from the very first day, and I know that the MBA experience that you shared has deeply transformed you. While I was preparing my message for you, I remembered something that I learned some time ago when I was working as an architect back in Argentina. In architecture, the success of a project depends on many factors, such as the idea, the location, and the selected materials. However, having the best of each of these is not a guarantee that the result will be the desired one. It's simply not enough. The key factor is to rely on the right group of people, committed to the essence of the project, willing to identify themselves with it, and ready to create something unique that goes beyond the right technique. This is not easy. You really need to be lucky. As in your case, these people always come from different backgrounds. They do not know each other, and they have to learn fast if they want to make the most from the experience they are about to share. While in architecture, the result of this approach brings heart and soul to the building, so you have given heart and soul to our school during the years we've spent together. By working on your assignments, discussing cases, and developing your projects, you have fulfilled and at times exceeded our expectations. We gave you the location, materials, and plans. But MBA 28 as an experience was built by you. A job well done, as we say in the construction business. I would like to thank you for your enthusiasm, curiosity, and energy. It has been a pleasure and honor to work with you. I am very proud of you, and I will miss you. On behalf of myself and everybody at MIB, I wish you all the best in your professional careers and personal lives. Keep in touch, and I hope to see you in the near future. Thank you.
C'è anche il Presidente che vuole salutarti.
Okay, thank you. Before concluding the ceremony, I'd like to welcome the participants of MBA 29 that will be starting at the beginning of October. We have a tradition to respect, a tradition that started right at the beginning of the MBA graduation ceremonies, where the baton is passed from one MBA generation to the next one. In order to do so, I invite Joanna from MBA 28 upon request, and Pulum from MBA 29. Please join me on the podium. Please, Professor Pilotto, can you help us?
Passaggio della stecca.
Ready? This is continuity at the school. Very important. You gave it to T. You received it last year.
Dovrete girare l'anno prossimo. Sì, noi siamo arrivati in fondo.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony has reached the end. Please join us in the garden downstairs for a final toast all together. But first, I invite the graduates to come here for the official photo. Thank you.
Poi faranno l'altro dei capelli, ma adesso...
Allora ci dovremmo mettere tutti. Stiamo anche noi.
Credo per ragioni fotografiche, il fotografo è un po' esigente, è un professionista.
Allora non so come vogliono, non ho un problema.
Era tutti come ossessionato dalla luce e dalle pose.
photo like this, then we will call him.
Ali vuole mettere un po' più seduto. Questa noi.
Professore, magari se vuole raggiungete il gruppo per la foto. Andrea, raggiungiamo il gruppo per la foto.
Magari chiediamo anche al nostro ospite. Credo che prima faranno alcune foto, credo loro. Poi facciamo venire. Sì, prego. Lei che ha?
Tocca in testa.
Sono studenti. Facciamo.
Ciao, brava, è stato... Sì, hai trasmesso qualcosa. Brava.
Non ti vedevo, tu avevi detto che ci sei.
Quando io ho entrato, io sono andato su a cercare la toga.